Sergi is our resident genius with over 15 years of software development experience. Alex and I are both former recruiters with over 10 years of experience and over 20,000 candidate interviews and over 15,000 resume reviews.
But we've been sober a number of years now, so we're clean.
And so the decision you make when finding a job is very important. In fact, Alex and I have a friend who had a great job, left that job for another opportunity that didn't work out because he wasn't a good fit. He went several months without a job, and it harmed not only him, but that company that had to scramble and replace that.
And that doesn't need to happen. That's a tragedy when you leave a job assuming that this next thing is going to be the thing for you, and that could have been avoided. In fact, it's actually worse than what most people think. Harvard Business Review points out that 80% of employee turnover is rooted to a bad hiring decision, which put it into perspective, which means 4 out of the 5 people who leave your company should never have been there in the first place. An even scarier number is that if you find a hiring mistake and you rectify it, you correct that within 6 months, that costs you 2.5 times that person's annual salary. So the average person makes $40,000 a year in the US. That's a $100,000 hiring mistake between the cost of unemployment and going through the full process again, potential litigation, everything. Crazy. There's one company that can predict within an 82% level of accuracy whether or not one of your employees will be at your company a year from now, looking at no other statistic or no other facet, but whether or not they're a fit for your company's culture.
Hiring to date has focused almost exclusively on the experience found within a resume. Resumes have been great at communicating the experience and the background in a candidate's resume, but the problem is that it ignores the character of that job seeker. So more and more companies are coming to find that it's better to find a candidate with the right fit, the right type of fit for their organization, as opposed to the candidate that you just met with the right skills. So Job Pact, our goal is to innovate the resume process. So Alex is going to show you with his very own resume how we plan to innovate the resume process.
And it happens kind of quick, so watch closely. This is how we import the resume into Job Pact.
So Job Pact's innovation is to have the resume take a back seat and focus on not only the experience, but the culture of the organization, the character of the candidate, and the compensation between both sides.
Well, we match based on objective and authentic criteria, exactly like headhunters and staffing companies don't and can't. The way it works is you jump onto jobpact.com and you sign up for a free profile. We have a free profile for an employer and a free profile for a job seeker. And you take what we call a discovery assessment. This is an assessment that goes into and just helps us learn more about you as an individual or learn about you as an organization and then what you're looking for in that counterpart. When that mutually aligns between job seeker and employer, we call that a match. And you go onto your dashboard and you can see your top matches. And then when you're interested in one, you would hit interested. When they respond in kind, we exchange contact information. You go offline and you schedule an interview, knowing more about the person this way than you would have with a plain resume and application process that currently exists. So yes, we have a free account for the employer, but there are also paid account levels. The job seeker is completely free. You don't pay anything to go if you're looking for work. But like the model for Monster.com, we bring the job seekers in, and the employers have the free model is basically you get 2 matches a month, and then you pay for additional matches every single month. It's a subscription. Actually, great question. No, we have an algorithm. Our resident development geniuses build one together that matches based on all the different pieces: the compensation, character, culture, and experience. We want to set up, but we haven't yet, viral opportunities to actually share the profile over, have like a link or a badge for your LinkedIn or for your resume from a job seeker's perspective. We hope that by doing the same thing that Myers-Briggs does, where it's interesting to find out what kind of personality you have, what your strengths are, what more an environment is more conducive for you, we hope to do the same thing here and spread that. For the employer side, we want to focus on the employers that recognize that character is more important than just finding the right type of background they're looking for, and we're experimenting with different ways to approach that. Right now, we're trying any number of different things, doing the startup method where we're trying your
off because they don't align with their team. It's not because of the skill, it's because of the actual cultural fit of that organization. So in a culture, so if I'm naturally an introvert and I prefer to do projects maybe on my own, have my own alone time and space, but yet the team I'm on is fast-paced and very active in communication and regards me, I might be overwhelmed, and that will lead to me actually leaving, even though I have the skill. And that's just an example of what we've seen where people have left. That's an example of the fit.
The part two to that, where how do you keep the organizations from becoming homogenous, is that's currently happening now with interview processes. They have this thing where you interview somebody, and the interviewer is like, man, I don't know what it is about that guy, but I like him. Well, what it is that you like is that they're like you, and you end up hiring people just like that. What this allows you to do is there's a process in place, QuickTrip has one, that they standardize the whole interview process to prevent that bias from happening. This allows you in a cold state to look and say, hey, our team is missing somebody that's very analytical, or very creative, or very hard-charging and has huge leadership. And this allows you to basically put in that request that that's the type of person you're looking for and hire, instead of going to the interview and saying, hey, you're like me, let's join up. Good question. Okay, so our target company that we're looking for, we're not closing into anything, but if everybody's your customer, no one's your customer. So we are focusing on basic startups, small businesses, for twofold. One, we have a free account level that Monster doesn't do, so it allows somebody that, with no risk, not even putting in your credit card information, for you to sign up and just see the matches coming in. And then two, usually at the small startup, culture is the most important, because you're talking about if you bring somebody to your team that really rubs against everybody else, you're going to have a bad day in a serious way. I mean, let's compare it to the current system where you lie in your resume. That happens every single day, so the system's not a great system now. The same thing happens here, but the sneaky analytics part of it, we're trying to make it difficult to game the system and target a particular employer. Because at no point do we currently have a way to search out Google or QuickTrip and target them. So unless you actually know not just the organizational culture, but that team culture, it's hard to game or target towards that. And two, we're setting up connections with Facebook, Google, with LinkedIn, where instead of just creating an arbitrary account that a robot can do, you're actually linking it with the current social network. We'll never spam, we won't do any of that, but we'll pull in some of that information and link it to a live person.